Hello, this is my pollination unit. And for standards, I have the language arts standards writing, where students will write narratives for second grade using short sequence of events describing actions, thoughts, and feelings, and reading informational texts, asking and answer questions about who, what, where, when, and why, and how to demonstrate understanding of key details in a text. Science, students will develop a simple model that mimics the function of pollinating plants. And for introduction of pollination, on the first day, I will introduce pollination unit by having students watch this short video for pollination for kids. This will activate prior knowledge that students have, and it'll get students thinking. It will give students background knowledge before we start reading the text within the discipline, so students can understand the text better. And for reading strategies, I have chosen, that we'll see on the next slide, we'll read the science conservation blog about pollination. I chose this text from the blog, and a visual text we'll see on the slide after that, as these are what the experts use within the disciplines. The text is at the right level for second graders to understand. I will show students how I think aloud as I read and how I annotate. Students will then annotate the text with the partner after I've modeled it, and then students will read the visual text of the pollination diagram. This integrates literacy skills into our pollination unit, and students will be able to read the text closely, and it will prepare students to write about pollination and then later engage in discussion. Students will be able to comprehend the content better, and it'll give students a chance to make sense of the text, asking questions, summarizing, creating a purpose, and connecting. Students will also decipher vocabulary in the text with the visual diagram and using this graphic organizer like the Frayer model that I have here on this slide. And I will model how to use the Frayer model with the word pollination. Students will work on processing the definitions and vocabulary words so they can better comprehend it. And I will support students as they need help with the Frayer model and vocabulary words. Here is the text from the Science Conservation blog. This text is easy enough and it's not very long, so it is engaging, and it contains vocabulary words that we will need for the unit. And here I have my annotations. I will read this text aloud. I will demonstrate how I think aloud as I read, and these are my annotations. It will give students an idea how you annotate a text before they go and do it with their partner with the same text. And then here I have the pollination visual text. This is a diagram of pollination. It includes some of the vocabulary words that we are going to be learning about in the unit. This is a visual text that the experts use within the discipline. They use diagrams. This will help students make sense of pollination, and it gives different modalities, looking at visual text and reading text. And for collaboration and inquiry, I will start out by modeling what a good discussion is and what that looks like. I'll start a class discussion about pollination. I'll teach students how to respect each other, challenge each other's thinking, and encourage everyone to participate. Students will feel safe and comfortable in sharing their thoughts and opinions with their peers. And then I will ask students open-ended questions to get them started, such as, why is pollination important? And I will then break students up into small groups of 3 or 4 students, and I will ask a question, and then each of the small groups will answer within their groups. And then I will work the room to make sure the students are on task if need be, and give positive comments to students about their discussions and their thinking and how they are interacting. And then I will ask questions such as, how can we support pollinators in our community? They will answer, and I'll walk around the room, assess knowledge, and their collaborative learning. How do we impact pollination as humans, good and bad? Students will explain, and I'll walk around and I'll take notes of the students and their collaborative learning. Next, I will do a Cheeto experiment after the students have worked with the vocabulary words and before we start our narrative. And students will put a bee figure on their fingers like you see in the picture here. I found an example. And there are cups of Cheetos in the middle of flower pictures around the room, and students will eat a Cheeto and they will not lick or wipe their fingers off, and they'll visit each of their partner's flower and spread the pollen on their flower. And students will fill out a sheet with their partner where they will make sense of the experiment. Students will answer what the Cheeto signifies, what the hand signifies, and into real life to make connections. And then students will answer what happened when they touched their partner's flower. And then as a class, we'll all come together and have a discussion. I'll ask students what similarities they saw between real pollen and Cheetos. How are they similar? Examples of that would be students' answers. They'd say, oh, Cheetos and pollen, they are both orange and yellow. They're both powdery. Those are just examples. And then this is my formative assessment tool for collaborative learning. I will assess students' knowledge as I am walking around and listening to their discussions, how they're using evidence, presenting reasonable arguments, how they interact with peers in a respectful manner, that everybody is listening and building off each other's ideas, and that they're asking questions. Then I will explain the student writing narrative. I have our I can statement. We will all say our I can statement together. I can write a narrative of an animal just spreading seeds and pollinating plants. I will explain their task. They'll write a narrative story like they've seen in storybooks. They have characters, setting, and a narrator. They'll describe the pollination process from the perspective of an animal, and they will be able to pick any pollinator of their choice. This lets students have creativity and autonomy and helps them be engaged and interested in the assignment, where they will have fun and actually learn and dive into their assignment. They'll learn the importance of pollination as they write their story. First, they'll write a rough draft, they'll revise their rough draft, and then they will work on a final draft using the online book tool, Book Creator, to make their story, and they'll include the vocabulary words that they need and pictures using the checklist that I provided. And then I will show them my book that I created as an example, Honey the Great Pollinator. I'll pull up this link here for to show the students how I have pictures, how I have designed it, and how I am talking in the perspective of the honeybee. And I will show them their checklist and the required vocabulary words. Students can use their Freyer model if they need to make sense of the vocabulary words and need to brush up on the definition so that they know they can get their story right and the pollination process in order. And this checklist helps with student planning and strategy for getting their narrative assignment done. And then as for universal design for learning, students have posted unit goals. They'll know what they'll be able to do and understand by the end of the unit. They'll receive regular feedback from me throughout the unit, such as their annotations, discussions with collaborative learning, Freyer model with vocabulary words, narrative rough draft, and narrative final draft with Book Creator. I have an engaging unit as students are given autonomy in their narrative assignment with Book Creator, be able where they can design it however they want, add pictures, and really express themselves. And students are given choice that promotes interest in their assignment, and students will be able to write the point of view of their chosen pollinator. And this is a multimodal unit as I have video, text, diagrams, visuals, hands-on activities, and even technology with Book Creator. This text that I've chosen for the blog, conservation blog for students, it is challenging enough yet achievable for all students. And I support planning of the writing project using a checklist and requirements each day of their narrative project. And I also implement collaboration with partner work and discussion. I also activate background knowledge with videos, such as when I introduce the pollination unit. And students are going to be able to decode text, reading closely and annotating, and using vocabulary words in the Frayer model, where they'll use symbols to help process the information and make sense of it. Students will be able to use many tools for composition of the narrative project, such as technology and writing. And these are some of the sample prompts that I would give feedback to my students, such as the best part of your paper is, I like it because, I'm confused by this if they didn't put their pollination process in order, and have you considered maybe adding more thoughts and feelings to their point of view of their character they chose? And I will assess student writing on their rough draft before you turn it into their final draft using those sample prompts. And then I will assess the final draft on Book Creator with this rubric that I created to assess learning. I'll assess their knowledge based on how many vocabulary words were used and how the pollination process is explained and is it in order. The story makes sense, and the story is written as a narrative from the point of view of a pollinator. And I will grade students based on aesthetics and a picture on each page and just design. And this is the learning timeline. I thought it would take 2 weeks for pollination unit. Week 1, Monday, we'll introduce the pollination unit, watch the video, read and annotate text. And then Tuesday, students will decipher vocabulary words using the Frayer model. I'll support students as needed, and I'll explain or explicitly explain the vocabulary words and definitions. Wednesday, students will do the Cheeto Lab. I had that be all day or not all day on Wednesday, but the only thing on Wednesday, as students will be able to really dive into the Cheeto Lab, and then we'll all come together and have discussion afterwards about connections, questions. And Thursday, students will start writing rough draft for narrative. Friday, students will continue writing rough draft. And then week 2, Monday, students will get feedback from me from the sample prompts that I will use and give them feedback. They'll start their final draft. Tuesday, they'll start creating their story in Book Creator. Wednesday, students will continue their book in Book Creator. Thursday, I will assess student narratives with the rubric that I created. And then Friday, class will see and read each other's stories. I'll put it up on the board so we can look at everybody's story in Book Creator and see how everybody expressed themselves. And that just kind of be like a fun part of the day. And so how students can see